That's better. I can see both of us evenly.
Okay, I can see you. I can see me.
Yeah.
Um,
It's been a long time.
it's been quite a while. I've known you for quite a while, and today I want to talk about your new Yoruba project. Now, you've been breaking ground in jazz and new music for quite a while. Um, and the new Yoruba project's been on my radar for quite a while, but I'm curious to know um, what was your inspiration for this project?
My inspiration for the project. Wow. My life as a whole. I don't know. I got deeply immersed in percussion and traditions of Cuban folklore when I was about 18. I was playing piano, of course, already.
Uh-huh.
And that was kind of the beginning. I kind of always say that's when my path was really born, and I didn't realize it at the time because they were kind of very parallel worlds, you know. And at that time, they were in the early '70s. They really didn't meet that much jazz and Cuban folklore music. There were few things of that nature going on. So, but for me, they were equal passion, and I just started to hear it all as one. Uh, that's the best way I could. I started to dream it. I heard the traditional songs in a contemporary music kind of context. And then I've always been really blessed to be surrounded with the real master folklorists that found my where I live musically to correlate, and my willingness to go in as deep as one has to work with these guys that have spent their life mastering an oral tradition. So I guess the inspiration would just be how life takes you to where you're supposed to go. That's the way I feel about it. And getting involved in these two parallel worlds and beginning to hear them as one, as I said, it was kind of inevitable for me.
Were you able to go down to Cuba at all during this time to do any research on the project?
I've been to Cuba several times,
Okay.
but not until '96 was my first trip, and I got pretty deep in with the those that were also very taken with and consumed, or let's just say like the word I'm looking for, just bound to be bound to something. There were others like me, and we shared a lot of music and knowledge, and until the time that I came here in '78, and in '80 I met Orlando Pintillo Rios, who back when we were first talking and knowing each other, he was he was ultimately with me for 25 years until his passing in 2008. So when I got in his presence, I really had a guide, or let's just say that his voice, his repertoire, uh, his world became a focal point for how I could manifest the things I was hearing. And that's why he was featured, all those years. So, the group is evolved, and I have another great master folklorist, but we all give our tribute to Dia as being our teacher, everybody. He was the first to come here and really share knowledge on the level that he shared it. It's kind of a private world, and you have to earn your way into it. But he was like a scout that found people, like-minded people, because he wanted to present, and he needed people that could present his ideas. So he invited a lot of folks into his world, and that was a blessing that I received. It shaped me a lot.
So was it? Did you have to be invited in because this was such a spiritual project? And they had were they was he vetting you before he let you in?
No, I mean, I wouldn't quite put it in either term, I'd say, because again, somebody had to be interested not just on a superficial level, because that music is very deep and it is spiritually based. So if someone said, "Oh, that's a hip rhythm, can I learn it?" You know, that wouldn't be licensed to to the deep stuff. You know, it's just like the jazz where you had to hang, you had to do a deep hang. So I had two worlds. I had to do a deep hang. You know, that's where you get the real stuff, not in the classroom or, you know, I mean, it's when you, those weird hours in those weird places under weird circumstances that you find yourself in because of your passion for what you love. And that's where the deeper aspects of the traditions are shared. You know what I mean? And there are gray zones, like in jazz, there's things you can't really teach. You can't, when I teach, I hit those areas. I say this is the part that there's no formula exactly for that. You know, you have to understand that that's where this other level of listening and responding comes in. And if you have your knowledge base, then you can do that from there. You know, that knowledge base is key. But being able to understand the nature of subtle response, you know, as opposed to you play it, then I play it, I'll copy you, you say it, I'll say it. You know, improvisation, you can hear people do that sometimes. You know. So and I wouldn't say he vetted me. I was just around. I was already connected to a lot of the same people that he was looking at and saying, wow, they could learn what I need them to learn. And he invited me into his Batak classes, but not to play, because in his world, women really never touched the Batak. And that was true basically in Cuba for a long time, but especially here. They started having women play in Cuba before here. And it's not till about the last 6, 7 years that I started learning hands-on, which is what enabled me to do my latest recording. If you took in some of that press, then you know a little about what it was about. And that's the stuff that only happens in the room, in the room. That's what Order de Oro is, the golden room on the hallowed recording. And the whole first 10 tracks are based on this very sacred sequence of rhythms that only these master percussionists know. So in order to write what I wrote, I had to really study that. I actually also went to Cuba, back to Cuba in 2014 to take it to the next level in terms of my knowledge that prepared me for that.
Okay.
I didn't know that's what I was getting ready to do, but when I got a CMA grant, I think it was 2015, and no longer with the requirement that you define your project first. Just here's the money. What you know, decide what you want to do, what you're going to write, and how you're going to present it. And it struck me that this is exactly what I need to do now, given what I've been, you know, immersing myself in. So that's kind of how I get step by step, you know, to wherever I am now.
Before we get to the hollow recording, it took a while for you to document this project. And the first one was, if I remember right, is like the 30 years of musical celebration of Cuba in America. And that was 2013.
That's right.
Can you
That
talk
was
a little
our
bit about
debut recording.
I'm sorry?
I said we debuted in 1983, and our debut recording was in 2013.
Okay. It's quite a cast of characters on that recording. Can you talk a little bit about that recording?
Yeah, that was just absolute dream come true in every way. I guess things happen when they're supposed to somehow, you know. I felt for the longest like, how will I ever get this done, you know? And there was a point where I was with a good friend, Tomas Pena, who I was telling I was getting ready to maybe do a fundraiser for a solo record. And we were at a restaurant, and I left the room. When I came back, his wife said, Tom wants to tell you something. And Tomas said, you know, that's a good idea, but it's time for New Yoruba. Forget that solo record for now. You need to. record New Yoruba. So I did a Kickstarter campaign for that. And I assembled folks that I was really happy to get two of the original members in the band that played with New Yoruba since 1983, went to Europe, which was Oliver Lake and Howard Johnson. And then since, you know, through the years, of course, there's a lot of new players in my arena, and every seat was pretty vital in terms of what it would take for it to work in the context. So I had a spectrum of horn players from younger to older. I think the younger players were a little more immersed in the field, the Latin music field, which tends to feel like it's rushing, and it isn't. Whereas jazz feels like it's lagging, and it isn't, you know. But you could see it in Pro Tools. You could see the waveforms go just like this. You know, where the horn is supposed to land like this. You could see certain players were always just behind the beat, and others just ahead, you know. And so there were challenges, but the thing was, I had all that music all those years, and I had the great Pedrito Martinez with me for that recording. Not to mention Roman Diaz, who is the foundation of New Yoruba now and since, you know. And those are our resident master folklorists. There's no one in this country that quite that caliber, even though there are other great folklorists. So, and then I had Junior Terry on bass, and of course he's, you know, he lives there, you know. Although being a composer, the way that I would put elements together would be like no one else. And it took me a long time to get peaceful about the fact that although a lot of people were starting to record experimental mixing the bata or the folklore with jazz, I felt like, wow, all these people are going to do it before I ever get a chance. And then I realized, can't anybody else do what I do, you know? Really, honestly, because I'm a composer, it all took a unique form that it couldn't have taken in any other context. And then the players, of course, make it happen. The other members of the group were, let's see, Freddie Hendricks on trumpet, yeah, Oliver Lake, on tenor I had Mike Lee, and Howard Johnson on tuba and baritone, and Terry Adam Cruz on drums, and Pedrito Roman and Abraham Rodriguez on percussion. I think I had a couple of guests, Daniel Carbonell, Daniel Carbonell, that played stuff. So yeah, that was awarded the #1 NPR of the year, you know, for 2015, #1 Latin jazz. And the reviews were incredible. It was as if, okay, the press said, all right, it's time, let's give it to you, let's give her some. And they really did. I mean, I felt like, you know, everything I worked towards had landed, and it was a real joyful time. It was really joyful. And we did our CD release at Disney's and at Lake George, and where else did we play? Philadelphia. We had a great sequence of warming up by playing at the Roulette and the Painted Bride, and then we went into the studio, and then when the record came out, we played Lake George as a good warm-up for Disney's, although the Lake George hit was killing. Oh yeah, I remember you were trying to make that one. Yeah? You were trying to make that one.
Yeah. I do want to move on a bit here. So the follow-up recording, Hallowed, is that got such rave by the critics. And there's a comment here about the rhythmic structure. Can you talk about the rhythmic structure of Hallowed?
Okay. I was referring to the first 10 tracks being what's called the Oru Sacred, the Oru Igbo, and it is sacred, really sanctified series of rhythms that are played at ceremony before the public comes in. So it's the private part. And it's called seco because it's dry. There's no song. It's just the drums, and they're speaking. You know, Bata speak the Yoruba language, and some of these folklorists around me make a point of retaining the tradition, really retaining the roots and the foundation because it's changing a lot, changing. So I I wrote a piece all the way through the Onoseco, which is rarely shorter than 40 minutes when they play it. And the process was really kind of like none other I've ever done. I got a live recording of Roman. He gave me a live recording of one of the Onosecos that they played, and it was one of the shorter ones. So I utilized that as the foundation for what I wrote. And there's a lot of points where the traditional Bata are exchanging conversation that you want to stay out of the way of. There's other spots where they lock in hard on a groove with fewer variations, and those presented opportunities for soloing. So I kept it completely intact. I had to know it inside out to make it work. The rest of the group never knew where the one was. I mean, it's very mysterious, the way the transitions from one to the other. There's like 23 deities, orishas, being Yoruba deities being addressed. And within one, for example, in Osai, there's at least 4 very distinct changes, rhythmically, feel, everything. And so it was a real, I had to go very deep. And the knowledge I gained in the process is incredibly right for me. It's just like so perfect that this happened, but it took a lot out of me. I had to do nothing else for a very long time. Yeah. And you got to work to get to the special things.
Yeah. So this recording was done, was released in November of 2019.
Yes.
Of course, you probably haven't been able to tour this group because of what's going on now. Was there a plan to go out and tour with this group?
Oh yeah, we were supposed to be at Hospice in the Bronx in March, and we were going to be at Dizzy's in May.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those things were canceled. And, like everybody, you know, I can't take it personal. It's such a time that we're living in, and we're all trying to figure it out. But at the moment, I'm completing a project that me and Roman did virtually for a festival in Cuba. That because it's got to be a virtual festival, they could invite him to be a part of it.
Oh,
he's here. So we've been working hard on that and finishing it up in the next couple of days. But yeah.
When might that happen?
Sorry?
When might that happen?
No, it's strange. I can't see the date. I don't see the date announced. Even though they have a link, and I'll send you links that I have. The date I don't know yet, but I assume it'll be, I think the end of July is the deadline for the submissions. And I think it's got to be in August.
Okay.
It's an annual festival, so they may have a regular spot that they do it in, and they're assuming everyone knows. I don't. I have to, and then Roman wasn't sure either, so I have to get that info.
So I don't want to keep you too long, but
no problem, Tom, because I do digress. You might want to get this.
No, I like the digression. But do you have? Are you planning another recording project? Is there something in the works? Are you writing?
Well, I'm working on actually some quintessence material. Well, it's not even quintessence material. It's some stuff I've written and played in trio context. One piece in particular I'm thinking of right now that I'm adapting to the context with percussion and bass, because it lives there. Like it's probably going to fit beautifully with with Guarapachangueo, which is an advanced form of Guaguancó.
Uh-huh.
It's where the rumba has gone through the years. It keeps evolving. It's like it's almost purposeful to leave people in the dust. You know, like as soon as you think you got it, they change it up. And you could say the same thing may be true about jazz because it tries to weed out those who aren't really committed. You know, there were I'm sure you're a historian, so you probably know exactly the period I'm talking about with bebop and the effort to take the music back. You know, with Cuba, it's nonstop evolution. So anyway, a lot of what I write, it's just so shaped by these rhythmic traditions because it's the way I hear everything. I don't think about them at the time I'm writing, but I can go take my quintessence material and put traditional folklore rhythms to them, and they fit perfectly because that's where they came from, in a sense, you know. So some material like that I'm pulling up and pulling out, and we're beginning to exchange ideas virtually on where it could go.
So, Michele, I'm going to end this here for now, but I want to continue this conversation after this project. Hopefully, it'll kick off in August when you do this virtual project in Cuba. And hopefully, I want to thank you for spending some time talking about your project. And when things settle down a bit and I get down to New York City, we'll hook up and have a coffee or something.
Okay, and feel free to call and stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Michele. You take care.
I look forward to seeing this at some point in some ways.
Oh yeah, it'll be out soon.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Thank you for including me.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.